Hey there, Tactics, and welcome to our Week 2 video. So this week we're going to be covering customs and courtesies of the Big Army. And let me just clarify, by Big Army we mean these things are going to be applicable to any career in the Army, not just in cadet land, which is a term we like to use. So this is pretty standard throughout the entire quote-unquote Big Army. So we're going to be talking about customs and courtesies, so just general things that you should be doing in your day-to-day in the Army, and then we're going to be going over uniform, and that you don't have both of your uniforms, you don't have your APFUs and OCPs, but we'll still go over what both of those should look like and the different components, and then we're going to be going through just some various traditions, and then we'll just be going over basic commands and drill. So, we'll start off with courtesies. So, saluting. When should you salute another person? You should salute when you are speaking to or greeting a superior officer, only if you are outside, so you should never be saluting inside unless you're reporting. And then you only have to salute an officer for the first time that day. So if you see them 5 times in one day, you only have to salute them the first time. And then the last time you would salute is during the national anthem, and we'll talk about that a little later. So, if you need to speak with an officer, and you are seeing them for the first time that day, you will approach them, you'll stand at attention, and render a salute, that is, of course, if you're outside. And you'll wait for them to return your salute before you say whatever it is you need to say. If you are just walking past an officer, and you're just, at PT, and you walk past Lieutenant Colonel Johnson, you should give a salute when you're about 6 paces away, and if you're both just walking opposite directions, there's no need to stop and stand at attention. Just render your salute, give him a good morning, sir, or if it's evening, good evening, sir, and wait till he returns your salute before you drop yours. And then if you're in a group and someone sees a superior officer, so let's say you're standing in a group and you see Lieutenant Colonel Johnson pass, the first person that sees the officer will call the group to attention and they will salute. So, if you're just sitting in a room, let's say for Mills class, or if you're in uniform, and a high-ranking officer enters the room, everyone stands at attention, but since you're inside, you don't salute. So, if you're sitting in your Mills class and Colonel Johnson walks in, everyone, hypothetically, should stand at attention. Now, realistically, that doesn't really happen in our OTC a lot, because none of the officers really have requested that you don't do that, but in general, that is the respectful thing to do. And this only applies if it is a higher ranking person than anyone in the room. So for example, if you're sitting with Captain Boyd in a room and Lieutenant Kuhn walks in, there's no need to stand at attention. And what about an NCO? So this only applies to officers like Colonel Johnson, Lieutenant Kuhn, Captain Boyd. What about for an NCO like Master Sergeant Eden? So, when you're addressing a high-ranking NCO like that, like a Master Sergeant, you're going to stand at parade rest. So you stand at attention for officers and parade rest for NCOs. And then, when an NCO enters the room, instead of standing at attention, you would stand at ease. So that's the only difference there. And then, of course, instead of sir, or ma'am, you're never going to call an NCO sir or ma'am. You would just call them by the rank. So you would say, good morning, Master Sergeant. The national anthem is one of the other times you salute, and so when you are in uniform and the national anthem starts playing, you're going to stand at the position of attention, face the closest American flag, and salute until the national anthem is over. And if there's an OIC, usually they'll call attention and they will order presenting arms. If you're not in uniform, don't salute. You're just going to stand at attention, face the flag, and place your hand over your heart. And make sure you're taking off any hats. You've probably seen people do this at large sports games, for example. Alright, so we're just going to quickly run through uniforms. So the first uniform that I don't believe you will have at this point is OCPs, and that stands for Operational Combat Pattern, but we just call them OCPs. And that's going to include a couple components. So you're going to get a tan t-shirt, and you can sort of see wearing that underneath there. And then you're going to get the blouse, which is like this, and this has all your patches, so it's got your name patch, your rank patch, your army patch. And then you've got a belt that you can't see, then you've got the pants, And underneath these boots, you have these green socks, and you have the boots. So you're going to get issued boots. Boots you get issued are not going to be very good, and we will talk at a later date about better boots that you could buy. And then at the top here is your PC. You'll notice some people are wearing blue hats. The MS4s wear blue hats, it's just their thing, but everyone else will be wearing these PCs. And then the other uniform that you should have is your PT uniform, which is going to be, for the summers, the black shirt and shorts. And with that, you should have your shirt tucked in, and you should be wearing white or black solid colored socks without logos. And you shouldn't have any earrings in. And you should also, you'll notice, have a watch. Alright, grooming. So, males, you can have mustaches. And that mustache can look like this one right here and pretty much nothing else. So, the mustaches can not extend past the outer corners of the lips as such. They cannot obscure the nostrils, and they cannot cover the top part of the lip. So this is basically the extent of how far your mustache can go. And then there's some other various grooming standards as well. So we're just going to go over quickly some traditions within the Army and within the FIB that you'll encounter. So the first one is going to be our dining in and dining out ceremony. So that's, if you've ever seen like a military ball, that's what this looks like. So everyone's going to dress up in either their service uniforms, if you have them. It's likely that if you're an MS1 and you don't already have them, you probably won't get them this year. And everyone else will just be in civilian fancy clothes. And we all get together, there's food, there's music, it's just a generally good time. And that's going to be at the end of the semester. So we'll have one in the fall and one in the spring. Alright, the next one that the MS1 should be prepared for is the Hazleton competition. So this is going to be a 2-day competition at the end of the year. Last year it was in April. And it's going to be during PT or lab time, and it's going to be a cumulative assessment of everything you've learned through the year. So last year there was a written exam, about 100 questions, and then some practical lanes, and it's going to test you on everything you've learned in Mills class and in lab. And if you win, you get 1, bragging rights, and 2, your name goes on a plaque on the wall outside of Mr. Ashworth's office. So that's your incentive. But it's also just really fun to demonstrate everything you've learned over the year and your hard work, and everything you learned in tactics. And then the last one that's going to be coming up pretty soon, and we'll talk a lot about this, is our field training exercises. So these are going to be at the end of September in Sparta, Illinois. It's going to be over a weekend, and think of it like a camping trip, but instead of fun things, you do Army things. So we're going to be covering land navigation, which is going to be our next tactics meeting. You're going to be covering battle drills and other just fundamental Army skills. So we will be talking a lot about that, about what you should bring, what you should expect, everything for FTX. And the last one, quickly, we're just going to go over drill. These are basic commands. So, basic commands you're going to have when you're in a formation. So when the first sergeant or your platoon sergeant or the CSM says, fall in, and you go into formation in the position of attention, these are commands that you might expect. So, attention means that a higher-ranking officer or NCO is going to be addressing the formation, and you should be standing at the position of attention, looking forward, paying attention to what they're saying. Parade rest is when someone is going to be giving announcements in a couple minutes, but not at the moment, and so that's less attentive than parade rest, but you should still be looking forward and concentrated. And then at ease is the next level below that, and you should see what these levels of attention look like when we're in formation during PT and lab. And then the last couple we have is forward, march, and a halt. That's just if the formation needs to move, so they'll say forward, march, and then you'll start marching. And then halt, obviously, is going to stop that marching. And left and right face and about face is when you need to change directions. So left face means turn to your left, right face means turn to your right, about face means turn around. And there are specific foot movements for how these commands should be executed. Obviously, it's a little hard to cover them through these slides. But yeah, that is the end of our video for this week. Next week is going to be Labor Day, so we will not have a meeting or a lesson, but the week after that we'll be going into land navigation, which is going to be a very essential skill for FTX, so make sure to tune in.